In our economics class today, we'll be treating cost theory 2, where we'll be looking into cost schedule, cost curve, looking into the relationship between average cost and marginal cost. And we shall conclude the class by looking into what we call long-run period and short-run period. Cost schedule. Let's look at this schedule. This is a quantity produced. This is a fixed cost here. We said fixed cost is constant, irrespective of the level of our output. That is, fixed cost has nothing to do with the level of the output. As the output is increasing, the fixed cost is constant. It has nothing to do with the level of output. Now, VC is what we call variable cost. As the variable cost is increasing, quantity produced is also increasing. Now, when we have one unit, we have 15 to be the variable cost. When we have 3 units, we have variable cost to be 18. When we have 5 units, we have variable cost to be 20. When we have 7 units, we have variable cost to be 25. So as the variable cost is increasing, so quantity produced is also increasing because they acquire more materials. So when we are talking about variable cost, we said it has something to do with the level of output. Now, TC is what we call total cost. So addition of fixed cost and variable cost will give us total cost. So when a firm has not produced a unit of commodity, the firm must have incurred what we call fixed costs. That's why we have zero quantity to be 30. That is in terms of the total cost. When a unit is produced, so we have total cost to be 45. Total cost to be 45. When 3 units are produced, we have the total cost to be 48. When we have 5 units, we have total cost to be 50. So addition of fixed cost and variable cost will give us total cost. Now let's go to the next one that we call AFC. AFC implies average fixed costs. Average fixed cost. Now for a 0 unit, we have nothing there because average fixed cost will be total fixed cost divided by quantity produced. When a unit is produced, right, the fixed cost is 30, the average is 30. When 3 units are produced, the fixed cost is 30, the average fixed cost is 10. When 5 units are produced, the fixed cost is 30, while the average fixed cost is 6, and so on and so forth. You will discover that as the output is increasing, average fixed cost is falling from 30, 10, 6, 4.2, 3.3, 2.7, 2.22 is falling. Why? Because average fixed cost is spread over the larger output produced. So as the output is increasing, the fixed cost is constant. So average fixed cost will be falling. Now let's go to the next one. Average variable cost. Average variable cost. And to get average variable cost, we said the variable cost divided by quantity produced. So we give us average variable cost. We are talking about variable cost per unit. When we have a unit, the variable cost is 15. So average variable cost is 15. When we have 3 units, the variable cost is 18. So the average is 6. When we have 5 units, the variable cost 20. The average variable cost is 4. When we have 7 units, the average variable cost is 25. So the variable cost is 25, while the average variable cost is 3.6, and so on and so forth. So to get average variable cost, we said variable cost divided by quantity produced. Now the next one is average cost, and we are talking about average cost. So we are talking about the total cost, TC, divided by quantity produced, or the summation of average fixed cost and average variable cost will give us average cost. And at times you can call it average total cost that we call ATC. So the average cost of a unit is 45. Of a unit is 45. While for 3 units, the average is 16. For 5 units, the average is 10. For 7 units, the average is 7.8. For 9 units, the average is 7.3. For 11 units, the average is 8.2. For 13 units, the average is 11.9. For 15 units, the average is 16. Now, the last concept, we call it marginal cost. I will say marginal cost implies change in total cost due to change in output. Now, the first one, when we have not produced, we have nothing to do with our marginal cost. A unit is produced now, the marginal cost will be 15 because the difference between 30 and 45 will give us 15. This increase in total cost. Now, from a unit to 3 units, our total cost is what? 45 to 48. The difference between 45 and 48 happens to be 3. And the difference between a unit and 3 units will be 2. So when we divide total cost divided by quantity, we have 1.5. Coming to the fifth unit, the difference between the third unit and the fifth unit happens to be 2, while the cost between the two will be 2. So this 2 divided by 2 will give us 1. Now, seventh unit. When we have 7th unit, the total cost is 55. But the previous unit happens to be 5, while the total cost is 50. So the difference between 50 and 55 is 5. And the difference between 5 and 5 and 7 is 2. So when we divide, we have 2.5. Now the next unit is 9. When we have 9 units produced, the total cost is 66. When we have 7 units produced, the total cost is 55. So 55, the difference between 55 and 6 happens to be 11. So divide by the difference between 7 and 9, which is 2. So we have the answer to be 5.5. Now, 11 units produced, the total cost is 90. And the previous unit produced is 9 units, while the total cost is 66. The difference between 66 and 90 will give us 24. And the difference between 11 and 9 will give us 2. So when we divide, we have 12, and so on and so forth. Now, we are going to observe one or two things in the average cost, average variable cost, average fixed cost, likewise marginal cost. Now, in average fixed cost, we can observe that one is falling as the output is increasing, because the fixed cost is spread over the larger output produced. Now, average variable cost, let's look at it. Initially is equal, we have 15, followed by 6, followed by 4, 3.6. That is, the average variable cost is falling as the output is increasing. But after 7th unit, we can observe increase in average variable cost. That is, 9 units indicate 4, but the previous one, which is 7, indicates 3.6. So from the 9th till the 15th unit, we have increase in average variable cost. Let's come to the average cost. Average cost, we have 45 as the initial, but when we have 3 units, we have 16. When we have 5 units, we have 10. When we have 7 units, we have 7.8. When we have 9 units, we have 7.3. But when we have 11th unit, we have 8.2. So from the third unit down to the 9th unit, right, we have decrease in average cost. But when we come to the 11th one, we started having increase in average cost, right? Now, average variable cost, average cost. You observe that average variable cost is greater than average variable cost. Why? Because average variable cost is just a subtraction from average cost. That is, summation of average fixed cost and average variable cost will give us average cost. Now, let's come to the marginal cost. Initially, we have marginal cost of 15, but when we further production, marginal cost is dropping up to the 5th one. Now, from the 7th unit, we started experiencing increase in marginal cost. That is, from the 7th quantity, marginal cost started increasing till the 15th unit, right? So it indicates that when the average cost is falling, marginal cost will be below it, will be lower than it. When average cost is falling, marginal cost will be lower. But when average cost is increasing, look at it from 11th quantity, which is 8.2, 13th quantity, which is 11.9, 15 happen to be this. You will see that average cost is lower than marginal cost at this place, right? So we are going to demonstrate this further under the curve. So what we are trying to understand here is that when average cost is falling, marginal cost will be below it. And when average cost is increasing, marginal cost will be what? Above it. Relationship between average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost. We are going to use this graph to analyze that. We've used the schedule that is in time of data. But let's look at it graphically, how it's going to look like. The costs that we have on the board, they are average fixed cost, average variable cost, average total cost, and marginal cost. When we look at average variable cost, you will observe that is what is dropping, is decreasing, as the output is what increasing from zero down to this place. So we have said it that average fixed cost will continue to be falling because of what? We spread average cost on larger quantity of output. That is, fixed cost is spread over larger output produced. Now, let's look at the average variable cost. Average variable cost is below average total cost. We can observe it here. That first of all, it's decreasing here. But after this point, we observe that average variable cost is increasing. It is decreasing after a point it started increasing. Now, let's look at point C. And the curve we have there is talking about average total cost. That is, average total cost is falling gradually. When it goes to point C, it started increasing. And you will see that average total cost is above average variable cost. Why? Because average total cost is a summation of average variable cost and average fixed cost. So that's why we have it to be above that. Now, the fourth curve, looking at this point, you can see is what is increasing here. We call it marginal cost. Marginal cost has started decreasing, but after point A, it started increasing, touching average variable cost, touching average total cost. Now, we want to analyze point B and point C. That as the average variable cost is falling, marginal cost is below it. You can see here, average variable cost is falling, marginal cost is below it. But marginal cost meets average variable cost at this point. It implies that average variable cost has reached its minimum point. That is, whenever marginal cost touches average variable cost, it implies that average variable cost has reached its minimum point. That's Q1. Now, the producer will continue their production because average total cost has not increased. Now, when we come to point C, we also observe that as the average cost, that is, average total cost is falling, marginal cost is below it. But as marginal cost is coming up, in order to meet average total cost, we can see that the mean at this point C, that when the marginal cost touches average total cost, it implies that total average cost has reached its minimum point. So after the minimum point, average total cost started increasing. And when average total cost is increasing, marginal cost is above it. You can observe it here. Likewise, when average variable cost started increasing, marginal cost is also what? Above it. So for us to say a firm has reached its minimum average variable cost as well as average total cost. Once we can see marginal cost meeting the average variable cost, that is the minimum average variable cost. This is the minimum they can produce with respect to variable cost. But when it comes into mixture of the fixed cost and the variable cost, that is the total cost. So for them to start using the existing plan, they will ensure that marginal cost touches average total cost, like this point. So after this point, the firm will start experiencing increase in average cost per unit. So no firm will further the production once MC touches AC. Summary of the relationship. When AC is falling, MC is always lower than AC. That is, whenever average cost is falling, marginal cost is always lower than AC. The second one, when average cost is increasing, marginal cost is above average cost and increases faster than average cost. The third one, marginal cost must cut AC at the minimum point of AC, that is average cost. So marginal cost must cut average cost at the minimum point of average cost. We demonstrated that a point where MC and AC meet refers to as minimum average cost. Then the last one, average fixed cost, AFC, falls as output increases because fixed cost is spread over a larger output level. Short-term cost is a planning period of production in which at least a factor of production is fixed in supply, while other factors are variable in supply. So when a firm is in short-term period, a factor will be fixed while other factors will be variable. So we analyze it under cost analysis. That we have fixed cost, we have variable cost. And fixed cost has nothing to do with the level of output, but variable cost has a lot to do with the level of output. So when a firm is still in short run, they cannot turn all the inputs, that is all the factors of production, into variable. So one will still be fixed because there is no change in the level of demand. So if there is a change in the level of demand, then the firm will be moving toward what we call long-run cost. So but if the firm has not used the fixed input up to the maximum capacity, then it cannot think of reopening or purchasing another equipment. So in the short-run period, a factor will be fixed while other factors will be variable. So these variable inputs are the ones that will increase the outputs. The second one, long-run cost, is a production planning period in which a firm can vary all the inputs of production to be in line with the level of demand. So when we look at the second one, we call it long run. The implication is that the firm wants to meet the level of demand of its products in the market. So that is, in the market, there is an increase in demand of the product. So the implication, which implies that the firm must have reached the maximum capacity of its existing plant. So in that case, the firm can now employ more plant, that is, getting more plant, getting more equipment, together with the other material in order to increase supply and meet the demand of the product in the market. So what we are talking about in the long run is that is the period where a firm can change all the input into a variable input. So the firm will not have anything like fixed input again. So all the inputs are now variable inputs, nothing like fixed input when the firm was still under our short-term cost. So in the long run, we don't have anything like fixed cost. All the costs that we'll be talking about will now be variable cost. because the firm is not having fixed input again but having variable input. So we can also call long run cost what planning. That is a cost is called planning cost. So if you don't call it long run cost, you can call it planning cost. That is that period, nothing like fixed cost. They will only be talking about total cost and marginal cost. So nothing like a fixed cost, nothing like a variable cost. The firm will be talking about total cost and marginal cost together with average cost and what? Marginal cost. In order to know the minimum average cost of the firm. But here, the firm will still be talking about fixed cost, variable cost. So because they are not in the long run period. We want to look at views on cost. The first one, economists' view on cost. That is, what's their own view, the economists? So what is their own view on cost? Now, it is based on opportunity cost. So we are talking about cost according to economists, they believe in what we call opportunity cost. That is the foregone alternative. How an individual can sacrifice one thing in order to obtain another. So economists, they are not after the amount you have spent on the commodity or the commodity you have acquired, but they are after the commodities that you left unpurchased. That's what they call opportunity cost. So to them, amount you spend on the commodity does not bother them. That is, it's not their own concern. Accountant's view on cost. It is based on the amount of money spent in order to have a commodity. So according to the accountant, they believe in the amount you have spent, not what you left purchased. So they are after the actual money spent, while the economists, they are not after the actual money spent, but the commodity that you cannot acquire. So their view on cost are different. So that's why we look at the view on cost. So economists, their own based on opportunity cost that we call alternative foregone, while accountants, their own based on actual money spent that we call money spent. Question 1. Which of the following is also known as planning cost? A. Long run average variable cost. B. Short run average variable cost. C. Average variable cost. D. Average total cost. The right answer is D. Average total cost. Because we have said that on the long run, the firm will not be talking about average variable cost again. They will be talking about average cost alone, that we call average total cost. Because they are already in the long run period. So they will only be talking about two costs. That is average total cost as well as a marginal cost. So the right answer is D, average total cost. Question 2. Which of the following statement is correct? A. When AC is increasing, marginal cost must also be increasing. B. When AC is increasing, MC must be falling. C. When AC is increasing, MC is above the AC. D. When AC is falling, MC must be increasing. The right answer is B. Question 3. Accountants are known with which of the following costs? A. Opportunity cost. B. Money cost. C. Physical cost. D. Production cost. The right answer is B. Money cost. Because money cost implies the amount spent on a commodity. So when we are talking about opportunity cost, it concerns the economist. Physical cost doesn't cost. We don't know who that one concerns. The production cost, we are not after that. But accountants, they are after money cost, the amount spent on a commodity or materials.